Hey, what's up out there, everybody? I want to thank you as always for swinging by the channel to check out a video. You guys are all awesome and it's greatly appreciated. Today we're going to talk about Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark from director André Øvredal. This film is based on the short stories for children that were written by Alvin Schwartz and illustrated by Stephen Gamble that were first published back in 1981. This movie stars Zoe Colletti, Michael Garza, Gabriel Rush, and Austin Zahar, with a story that centers on this group of teenagers that are forced to face their worst fears when they stumble across this book that's filled with a bunch of grim stories as well as a very strong haunted presence. Now, unlike many film adaptations of written work that have come to the screen over the recent years, I actually am semi-familiar with the source material here. I do remember some of the stories growing up. I remember how some of the kids that read them were the ones that we assumed would be serial killers, and I can even remember back then how the stories did push the scope of things that were acceptable to kids despite them being available in my school library. So with these memories of the stories and as a fan of the horror genre, I was really interested in what this film could deliver. I think André Øvredal did a great job with his direction in The Autopsy of Jane Doe from 2016, and with Guillermo del Toro backing this as a producer as well as adding to the screenplay, I felt confident this would be a unique film inside the genre, one that could really lure me into many dark and ominous locations. And after watching, I will say that it did capture my imagination more than enough to engage me in the story with the characters. It also could be classed as unique, but at the same time it could be easily classed as not overly fresh. I think this film, the way it plays out in one single narrative that incorporates these various stories into the events that take place, was an interesting choice. The separate stories do move the overall plot forward and they were all blended together nicely. However, for me, I was just hoping for more of an anthology structure to this one with independent tales that could really create their own mood and tone to take me off to different settings. The overarching storyline in this one was one that was very familiar to many other genre films like it, and I gotta say it was kind of a letdown to me. I think the addition of these smaller stories and their creatures that come along with them certainly do infuse the film with energy that does make the overall routine plot work, but it just naturally gives the film its own tone that all the other stories were forced to fit under. So for that aspect, while it did have some great horror moments and some strong performances, it just wasn't as ambitious as I had hoped for in terms of just how it was structured overall. Yet I gotta say, to this film's credit, it does deliver a good time. It was just different than what I was expecting, because regardless of being different than I was expecting, it was still a film that I enjoyed. I think it works in loads of fun, creepy, sinister horror moments that were a great time. It also delivers them with a variety of backdrops that do a good job of using lighting and color in different ways to really create some frightening imagery. I think the direction was great. It doesn't over edit things, and it doesn't just rely on cheap jump scares, which I always appreciate. I think the design to the various creatures overall was well done. I think the hallway scene in the red room section of the script with this just big expressionless figure truly was demented looking. I think Harold the Scarecrow was excellent, as well as the look and the movement of the Jangly Man. I thought it was all great. I will admit there was a heavy use of CGI, but also some fun practical effects, and overall I think the visual appeal in this movie was a success. Another bright spot in this film would certainly be the performances. I think Colletti, Garza, Zajer, and Rush just made a great group of characters that were very appealing. They all captured their relationship dynamics through a very natural, believable chemistry with one another that didn't force anything. Colletti was fantastic in my opinion, with an emotionally driven performance that was able to make this film sort of stand out in the genre. I think a film like this is often only as good as its lead, and Colletti here shined, and Austin Zajer came in as well with some genuine comedic relief, and overall with just a clever wit to the dialogue. I think all the humor was just more than effective in breaking the tension when needed. Because it isn't always easy to work in moments of levity into a horror-themed script like this, but with a nice timing from the performers and a solid sense of humor behind the writing, I think it turned out to be a great complement to the more darker moments. I will admit the pace does lull a couple times, but overall things did keep moving with a continual progression. I just think the fact that the main backbone of this film being so similar to many others was something that kind of slowed the pace at times as well as hindered the intrigue here and there. But like I said, all of these things put together, added with a solid musical score, do create a fun movie that, I gotta be honest, I think would have done much better being released closer to Halloween as opposed to the summer in terms of box office revenue. And I definitely recommend giving this movie a shot if you're interested, because I certainly had a good time with it. It may not have been as ambitious as I was hoping, but it was fun. So I'm going to give Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark a solid 80% on the entertainment meter. It does deliver a handful of horror tropes, but it does not rely on them. I think it does stand on its own legs as a mass consumable horror movie. The performances are more than capable, the visual appeal is as well, and watching it on the big screen is nice and fun and immersive. Now for today's My Silver Screen recommendations, I'm going to be selecting Jeepers Creepers from 2001, Urban Legend starring Jared Leto, and the classic slasher flick Scream, for 3 movies that have teenage cast members that also have connections to old stories and urban legends. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop it a thumbs up, leave a comment below. I'd love to talk movies with you guys. Share it with your friends, and without question, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can never miss a video. Here are some links to some recent reviews just in case you missed them. All my social media links and the link to our official website are down in the description below, and I'll catch you next time.